leakages. And it did not start today. It's been on for decades. A particular agency, I'm not going to mention their name, remitted only 51 million naira in 10 years. But somebody came and within less than a year, he was able to do about 8 billion. So that area, we need to look into it. This year, they gave them a budget of about 850 billion. I think they should have like 1.5 trillion because really, if they are more efficient, if we strengthen internal controls, they should be doing like 1.5 trillion. So that area needs a lot of beaming our searchlight, the National Assembly, the executive, and I will advise that government should partner with the private sector, look for audit firms, let them be there, let them have a desk there to ensure revenue assurance. If you can do that, I can assure you that by 2018, you'll be talking of remittance in excess of a trillion naira. Yeah,
because there are questions too. I mean, only recently, I think 2 days ago, we saw the Nigerian, the FIRS, saying that they had remitted or they had been able to rake in as much as 3 trillion naira in 10 months. And then there are questions as to how is it possible that this revenue collecting agencies, I'm not talking about the FIRS now, but how is it possible that revenue collecting agencies, in spite of the TSA, the Treasury Single Account, are still able to bypass or, leakages are still possible despite the TSA?
Well, we need to look at our legislation and enforcement. We have the Fiscal Responsibility Act. It's the one that guides them about remittance of their operation surplus. But, every law will have some loopholes, some lacuna that can be exploited. We need to look at that legislation again and make sure all the leakages or loopholes are blocked. But most importantly, I think operationally, we can deploy the right resources in terms of experts. Let them have a desk. It's like you are doing internal audit or something to ensure that on a day-to-day basis, they track the revenue. And I also think that technology can help a lot. We need to reduce a lot of manual operation. I mean, you get to some places, somebody is giving you receipts, handwritten receipts. How do you ensure revenue assurance? Who tracks what? Who reports what is actually collected and being remitted? It's been what we are used to over the years. For 10 years, more than that, people collect money and just do whatever they like with it. But times have changed. All revenue is not the way it was. We are not making enough money from tax. I mean, let me tell you one thing. Nigeria has one of the lowest tax to GDP ratio in the world, 6.1.
Yeah, we've heard that from the Minister.
Ghana has 20.8. Benin has 15 point something.
We've heard that from the Minister of Finance. It's one of the reasons why the government said they came up with Vaids.
Yeah, Vaids.
This system to ensure that, high net worth individuals are able to come and declare the assets and reconcile their tax issues. But then, there's also questions as to how much does government hope to realize from that and what impact is that going to have on the 2018 budget? Do we really need to go out borrowing again when we already have all of these plans to ensure that we're plugging leakages and, bringing in more people onto the tax net? Well, in the short to medium term, I don't think those interventions can impact in terms of cash flows to fund the budget. I think... Why not? If there is already a target and a cutoff date for March next year, and we hear that quite a number of companies are already beginning to comply, I think from what you hear, some companies, less than a dozen of them, have remitted about 100 million naira. If that should continue way into March, don't you think that on the short term, even that could be a huge source of funding?
Well, whatever is going to be realized from that may not be material or significant to say you want to base funding of the budget on it. But in the medium to long term, I think it's going to be beneficial because if we can increase our tax to GDP ratio and improve on other areas of collection like the independent revenue, then we can have enough money to fund the budget and also reduce our deficit. One area I don't agree with them is that Nigeria has a lot of assets that are not generating cash flows. They are just there, and we refuse to liquidate them. If we can sell them today, we can get immediate cash to ensure that we fund our budget and also be able to build our infrastructure.
So you're going to support, the executive when they say they want to sell assets like the National Theatre and, other such?
Absolutely. Once the process is transparent, they are accountable, and we can see that it is done in the best interest of the country. I mean, as an accountant, I can't go out borrowing when I have an asset that can